If you do this, if you do nothing to the ECM and send it back to your client and charge money, you're ruining this business for me, right? You're hurting my business. Hello friends, welcome back to the bench. Today we have an ECM from 2004 Subaru Legacy, and this is a pretty different case than we usually deal with. The part number is 22611AK830. I already worked on one of these. It was an earlier model. The model I worked on before had the actual transistors, a line of transistors that controlled injectors. This one has two transistor arrays. Right here, these two ICs over here, they control injectors. These two control coils, right? Also transistor arrays. But what is interesting about this one is that it made it to me after it was sent to another repair shop. I'm not gonna name a repair shop that received this ECM before me, and you'll find out why. It's kind of a sad story because you know, if you don't do legitimate business, then you kind of ruin this business for all of us, right? I suffer because you kind of, well, let's call it what it is. You scam your clients or you just charge your clients for something you didn't do, or charge them for doing nothing. And don't get me wrong, I understand the bench fee, right? I charge $35 for everything that just it's anything that I put on my bench. I charge $35, right? Because I have to disassemble it, I have to look at it, and even if I don't fix it, you still owe me a little bit of money, right? But this is something that you know getting into it, right? And sometimes I waive bench fees, sometimes I do free repairs. It all kind of depends, especially when it's the first time I'm working on something. I'm learning as I'm doing it, and you know, sometimes I do fix some, or sometimes I just do something. I just tell you that, you know, I don't know what's wrong with it, but this is what I can do with it, right? Maybe recap, maybe, you know, resolder some connections or something like that. Maybe it will help, maybe it won't, and I straight up tell you that, you know, if you want it, it's gonna cost $35, and I don't guarantee whether it's gonna help or not. So, you know, you have an option. I never force anyone to pay for anything. Plus, you know, the reason some people choose my repair shop is because of the transparency. You're gonna see exactly what I did with your device, exactly how I did it. I try to explain as much as I can during the repair, unless it's 608 resoldering, then I just kind of, especially if it's you know, the typical resoldering, no prior repair attempt. You know, I've done it so many times that I don't explain everything in every video. I just, you know, present the sped up footage. But if you have questions, you can always drop them in the comment, and I'll do my best to answer any of your concerns. Or if you need more explanation, you haven't seen any of my other videos, then definitely. Or you can call me up, you can write me an email. You'll get information that you need. So let's call the company a company X. They received this ECM, and I guess they have like one day service, right? Which is kind of cool. But if you give yourself only one day to work on the ECM, to diagnose it, and, you know, and to repair it and test it and everything, that's not a lot of time. You're kind of putting the bar for yourself relatively high. But if you're a technician that have worked on these for the past 2 decades and you've done thousands of them, then yeah, I believe you can fix it, diagnose it, and fix it in one day, and probably do 10 of these a day, maybe 20. So yeah, I understand that, but I really doubt this company actually has such a resume on their hands. I don't think so. So the computer has been received by them and sent back on the next day with this information. Let me read it to you. The computer you sent here has been repaired. Awesome. There was a hardware failure on the board. Okay, that's usually what we do. I don't know of anyone fixing software failures on these boards. I don't think anyone actually provides any services like that. Sure, you can reprogram this little chip over here that has a checksum of your VIN. And if if the checksum doesn't match, then the computer is not going to work in your car. It's not like you can just swap them out from one car to another car. That's a little longer story and not our subject. So let's continue with the letter. Usually, when the computer fails, so does another part on the vehicle. And if all the damaged parts on the vehicle are not replaced at the same time, then the original problem may still exist or even cause damage again to the computer and or vehicle. Okay, let's unpack this sentence. It's a very long sentence, so let's just consume it one at a time, one phrase at a time. Usually when the computer fails, so does another part on the vehicle. Okay, technically that can be true. Okay, if you have a short on the fuel injector, right, then if you detect, right, if I get a board and I see that there's a short on the fuel injector, be it a transistor or transistor array, I replace it, then I tell the client that there was a short on cylinder number 4 fuel injector, replace it before running the car, before turning on the car, right, before using it, right, because it could cause the damage if there is a short on where the injector is supposed to be. There's a dead short, then yeah, it could damage the transistor again because there's too much current flowing. So technically that could be true, but if you're saying something like that, then usually it should be followed with which component was damaged. What do I have to change, replace in my car? Because the same goes to the coils, but the injectors are controlled by the ground, coils are controlled by the voltage, right? So the pulse is generated for the coil, and for the injector, it constantly gets voltage, 12 volts on one pin, and the other pin is basically shorted to ground by the transistor to open the injector. So those two can actually cause the fault to appear on the ECM again if you don't replace the dead coil or dead injector. So technically that could be true, but again, if you're just saying it like as vague as possible, and then it smells of horse manure. So that's another part of it. And if all the damaged parts on the vehicle are not replaced at the same time, then the original problem may still exist or even cause damage to the computer or vehicle, right? So how can you be this specific and this vague at the same time? It's like you're purposely omitting the actual information. What was damaged, right? Was it the injector route? Was it the coils? Because that's the only two things that I can think of that can actually cause the damage. Even if you have something else shorted, then just the readings are not going to be right. Right? If you have a short on the camshaft sensor, right? Then the car is just basically not going to run because there's no way for the ECM to know when to open the injector, when to create a spark, right? So yeah, but it's still, this is not. Or if your sensor is damaged in a way that it constantly conducts or is constantly open. Again, it's not going to cause any damage to the ECM. So this is very weirdly specific and vague at the same time. Damage, blah, blah, blah. Anything electrically related to the symptoms with the vehicle should be checked. Again, you can't get any more vague than this, right? It's like they're at the same time they're telling you exactly nothing, literally nothing. It could not be determined if the fault was a result of a short circuit in the vehicle or a manufacturer's defect, because the vehicle was not here for inspection. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm gonna send you my entire vehicle for inspection because I have a short on ECM. And what do you mean by short on the car? Again, if you have a short on the fuel injector, that could, as I said, potentially just put a lot of strain on your transistor, and maybe it'll, go short. It's possible, but not very likely. The same with coils, and anything else related to the rest is just the sensors, right? The relays. There's not a lot of current flowing through this device in general. Fuel injectors and coils are the only things that are actually consuming a lot of current, because one fuel injector can consume around 20 watts, 15, 20 watts. If you have 6 of them, that's 120 watts, around 120 watts theoretically, if they all started at the same time. They all went open, constantly open, right? So that is actually a lot of power, but it never does that. And the ECM has very sophisticated ways of detecting the shorts and countering them. It doesn't work that way. It just, no, this is false. It seems like the person who wrote it didn't really have any idea what was wrong, and just tried to make something up just so they can charge the client. Blah blah blah. Your computer was shipped, and so on and so on. So one part that I really want to focus on over here is the dead giveaway. If you guys ever received those scam emails, and there's always a dead giveaway that it's a scam, because they just plainly ask you or explain to you why the red flags, why stuff that doesn't make sense actually does make sense.
Note this transaction is 100% risk-free and does not attract any danger.
Right? So here they say that, well, basically what they're saying over here is that the computer pretty much is not going to work, right? The fault is still going to be there, but it's not our fault, right? That it's not going to work, but we did our due diligence, and I don't know. Please let me know if you have any questions. And second dead giveaway, before leaving any reviews, please allow us a chance to resolve any problems, and we will. This is a small company looking to make things right and grow. Well, Mr. A small company, this is not how you do business. You will not grow, or actually maybe you will grow, because there's plenty of companies that do despicable or conduct business in despicable manner, and they're doing great. So maybe you will grow, but you will definitely not be recommended by someone like me. And if by any chance you're seeing this video, you know who you are. Be aware that there's more than one repair shop. In my case, anyone who sends me ECM can send a video of the repair to the other shop, and just ask them for opinion, right? Did he do something right? Did he do something wrong? Was that a lot of money for that repair, or was it even needed? Maybe I didn't need that repair. In your case, well, your ECM is now on my desk. So I will check exactly what you did and how you did it. All right. So Roberto, for this is the owner of this ECM, wrote back to them. Could you give me more details on what exactly was repaired? I'll need this to check everything is working well when the ECU is put back in the vehicle. Okay, fair enough, right? If you were this specific, but actually never said anything specific about what you repaired, then obviously that's going to be the next question from the client. And I get those questions all the time. Nothing wrong with that. The shop replied with, faulty CPU resistor detected. Check for good steady voltage from the charging system. Thanks. Okay, let's unpack this sentence. So, faulty CPU resistor. I don't know how I made it to the age of 41 and I've never heard of a CPU resistor, but you know, I learn all the time. All my life I'm learning, so you know, maybe there is such a thing. More likely it is not. I mean, on the motherboards for the computers, I often refer to the MOSFETs as CPU MOSFETs or CPU coils, because these are the MOSFETs that control the coils, which in turn supply voltage to the CPU. So yeah, but there's no CPU resistors. There's no dedicated resistor for the CPU. And how would it even look? I mean, you know what I mean? What is it that, like the current sensing resistor or just current limiting resistor? Is it on the supply voltage? Is it on the signal? Maybe it's on one of the signal lines. You get 1 to 10K resistors on every line that goes into the CPU, or in this case they say CPU. I assume they mean the microcontroller, or maybe it's FPGA, we don't know. But I wouldn't call it CPU. Maybe let's put it that way. I wouldn't call it CPU. Faulty CPU resistor. Okay, every single resistor on this board is marked with a number, from R whatever to R whatever, right? R501, R706. So why wouldn't you just say that R603 has been replaced, identified as faulty and replaced? Then what you should do, you should check for steady voltage from the charging system. What's a charging system on the car? Do you need an alternator? But why would that even matter in this case? Do you mean the supply voltage that goes to the ECM? Well, if that be the case, you know, there's the range of voltage that this accepts is from like 9 volts, actually 8 volts probably, all the way to 16, 17. The capacitors are rated for 35 volts, right? Obviously you shouldn't use them close to 35 volts, but you can probably use it on 24 volts and it should still work, because the ECM will produce its own voltages for the chips and whatever else is it's controlling. These transistor arrays, they accept up to 110 volts. They can operate on 110 volts. So if the voltage is too low or the voltage is too high, that shouldn't really matter for the ECM, unless the voltage is like way up there, right? But it wouldn't. Why would it? So the alternator suddenly starts producing 60 volts. That would break it. Okay, but how would that happen? And you know, if you run it from the battery, and as you start the car, before you start the car, the entire voltage that is supplied to the ECM is from the battery. Then when the engine starts turning, that's when the alternator takes over and starts recharging the battery. But it makes zero sense to check for steady voltage from the charging system. What is the charging system on the car? I would expect it to be, you know, the alternator, but it makes zero sense. So, if you replaced a resistor on this board, which I do not believe for 1 second, how do we know? Actually, it's very simple, because the board is covered. See how it's reflecting light? It's covered in a clear mask, right? It's called something, I don't remember what it's called in English, but it's basically like a glue, right? And it dissolves in alcohol and also detaches when you heat it up, right? On both sides, right? It's gonna be nice and shiny, right? So if you touched anything on this board, you could use two primary tools, right? One would be a Hadar station. The other one would be hot tweezers. If you used Hadar station, not only I'll see exactly which resistor you replaced, but there'll be clear mark around it. The area around it will be very obvious that it has been heated up. The mask will, well, first of all, you have to remove that mask, right? You could just blast it with Hadar and remove the component, but then you have to use flux, right? You're not going to resolder it without flux, and if you do, then you shouldn't be in this business in the first place. And then there's going to be either flux left over, or there's going to be a sign of cleaning, because you should clean the flux after you resolder it, right? So there's not going to be a mask, there's going to be signs of cleaning. Hopefully there's going to be signs of cleaning, and if not, there's at least going to be leftover flux. I went over this board because so far I spent about 8 hours working on this board, just, you know, diagnosing it, measurements, visual inspection. I went inch by inch, resistor by resistor, every single one. First I focused around the big chips, as they said, CPU resistor. And then I just went, because I couldn't find it, then I went just inch by inch. Yes, I have some time to work on it. Today's Sunday, yesterday was Saturday. I received it yesterday. Today is, I don't know, I started at 6 a.m. today, and it's 1 o'clock right now. And yesterday I spent a few hours on it as well. No sign of any heat being applied to the board. The easiest way to see, right, is with the ring light, and you know, stuff reflects. You know, the mask is gonna causing reflections, right? The second giveaway would be the solder is going to be different. The solder is going to look different because you're going to use leaded solder and you're going to use flux. So it would, if any of these, like as you can see them over here, right, these resistors, these are 1K, 10K, 2K, 10K, 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 and 10K. Right? If you resolder one of these, it's going to be absolutely obvious that it has been resoldered. You're not going to leave the board like this. Not a single component has been touched over here. So I went, because initially I didn't have any idea what can be wrong with it. So I had to reverse engineer some stuff. IC 601 and IC 602 are the equivalent of IC 608 on Gen 3. This is Gen 2, 2004. On Gen 1 is we have the actual transistors, right? So our injectors, this is our collector. Collector number 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? And this is the spec for this transistor array. And how do we look for it? We take our data sheet for the ECM, and we have fuel injectors 1 through 4, and they are on B136 from 3 to 6. B136 is this one, right? And 3, 4, 5, 6. These are our 3, 4, 5, 6. These are our injectors. 3, 4, 5, 6. Right. So over here, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right. And they connect to these two arrays, and they short to ground. Right. So the output, the emitter, is on pins right over here, right? This one and this one, this one and this one, and it goes to ground. And the same over here, these two and these two, right? As the data sheet says. So F1 and F2, and pins 18, 19, and 12 and 13 are the emitters. And pins number 3 and 8 are gates, or bases, sorry, because it's regular bipolar transistors, not MOSFETs. So there's no shorts on it, so this circuitry is okay, right? So what can be wrong with the CCM? It's actually very simple, and this is something that is like the first thing you're gonna do on the devices like this. What is the first thing that is always gonna break? It's the capacitors. Capacitors are rated for 2,000 hours, right? It doesn't mean that, you know, that the car can only work for 2,000 hours. Obviously, that would be ridiculous. But they're rated for, you know, if it's the absolute charge and absolute discharge, like all the way up, all the way down. Obviously, in the actual circuit, the capacitor doesn't go completely flat and completely charged. I mean, it goes completely charged, but it doesn't go completely flat as it works. So those 2,000 hours doesn't mean that it is going to work for only 2,000 hours. But how do we know whether the caps are good or not? We'll check that in a second, because first I want to show you something that the other repair shop also missed. And actually, I would have missed it as well. It's only because I spent so many hours on the CCM and that I found it, because I wanted to confirm whether there was nothing done to this ECM. And I started looking for cracked solder, because on this one, on the last one I worked on the exact same one, almost exact same one, the cracked solder was the issue. And take a look at this. This is a microscopic crack, so I need to get the focus just right. And you probably want to see something. Oh, come on. There. Can you see that? Here, right? You see that dark crack over here? I'll try another angle, because it kind of depends on the angle, and I see it from the other ocular, so I have a different angle than the camera. If I find it again. There, I see it nicely here. I don't know if you can see it. You should be able to see the dark crack on it, right? It's a microscopic crack, That's why I probably wouldn't have found it if I did a regular diagnosis on it or regular inspection on it. But I probably would have resoldered it anyways, because it's a common fault. It just kind of comes with practice. You just know what to look for on these, and sometimes you just get lucky. You don't see the crack, but you resoldered it, and the problem went away. And so our transistor 502 has a little bit of cracking. Does it cause an issue? Maybe, maybe not, but it's not ideal. So we're gonna resolder it. But what else can we tell about this device? Let's get few measuring devices. So first, we're going to use the ESR meter to check the capacitors, right? This one is showing 400 milliohms. Too high. Not extremely, but too high. This one is showing negative. Not good. This one is showing 35. It's good. 35 is good. They shouldn't be above 50. This one is way over 1 ohm, so it doesn't even catch on my meter because it just kind of ends with 1 ohm. So that is test number 1. Test number 2, and I obviously checked all of them, and they all need to be replaced. But let's check the capacitance. Mind the polarity. This one's showing 0, at least on this meter. That's why I have more than one. This one shows 0. This one shows 0. This one shows 10. It's supposed to be 10. So this one shows good as far as the capacitance, but the ESR is through the roof. So that's not good. Let's see, this one should be 47, and it's 0, right? And so on. That's on the Fluke, but Fluke is limited to 1000 microfarads. This one, my Fluke wannabe, goes a lot higher. So what do we find out from this one? It works on a much lower frequency. It shows 71. It should be 47. So 68. Yeah, it should be 47. So it's showing higher capacitance, which means the ESR is going to be higher on it. This one, .8 millifarads. So it's off by a factor. So that's why the Fluke only goes to 1000. This shows over 2000 or almost 3000. So the ESR is going to be through the roof on this one. So it's probably completely dry. Let's see our 10 that was showing 10 on the Fluke. How much is it going to show here? 10. No. This one's actually probably good, but we're still replacing this one. This one is exact same, also 10. And it's showing 100 microfarads. So again, off by a factor or off by a magnitude. And it's pretty much the same for all those capacitors, right? So all of these capacitors are dry and they all need to be replaced. I have some of them in stock. I have 220 at 35 volts, so that's this one. No, that's A. Okay, a quick lesson on how to read capacitors. That first letter over here, so this is our capacitance, and that first letter translates into the voltage. So J is 6.3, A 10, C 16, and so on. This one is A, so it's 10 volts, right? This one is V, 47 V, that's 35 volts. That's how we tell, all right? Let's look at them under the scope. Right, so this is V. HA, that's a specific type of capacitor, right? And that 5C6, that's or 5H6, that's the series. We have 1 over here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 capacitors have to be replaced on this one, and 1 cold solder. This is my diagnosis of what's wrong with this board. I've had few cases where the recapping didn't resolve all the problems. So the car wouldn't start at all, right? It wouldn't turn on, or it would die. If it did start, it would die after a few seconds. Recapping removed the problem of dying. It would start and it wouldn't die, but it was still running rough. So it kind of helped, but it didn't resolve all the problems. In another case, actually the same or the one generation earlier ECM with those line of transistors, resoldering transistors actually resolved the problem, and that was intermittent misfires. So you kind of never know what exactly is going to help if you can't find anything actually wrong, like broken transistor or faulty resistor, shorted transistor gate, cracked solder, that kind of stuff. So this is kind of a sad situation because I don't know how much Roberto was charged by the other shop. But since it was one-day service, my guess is this ECM is worth, if you want to buy it, replace it in your car, you're looking into about $900 for the device plus programming to your VIN. So about $1,000, maybe $1,200. And so if they charge them like $300 or $400, that would still not be a price through the roof. That would still seem like a fair price because you're still saving $400, maybe $500 on getting it repaired. But if you actually do get it repaired, and it really kills me when people do that, because now, imagine if you were scammed by the ECM repair shop. I'm not actually an ECM repair shop. That's, for some reason, this is what I primarily do, but it's, that's not what I want to do. But such is life. You can't always do what you like. Sometimes you do what you gotta do. And for some reason, I pretty much only get ECMs for repairs. I would love to work on the the laptops or power supplies. That's what I like to do, working on power supplies. They're much easier to test. I can test it. I can actually connect it. The old ones you could connect to the Arduino, give it a signal, and you would check the signals on the injectors and stuff. But with these, they're not going to start until they have the rest of the car connected to them. They start talking on the CAN bus, and if they all agree that they're in the car and all the parts are from the same car, then it's going to turn on and start working. Otherwise, it won't. So I can test these. I'm not sure about 2004, probably not, but 2099, 2000, those you could test. Actually, give it a PWM to the throttle control. Just make it short on the ignition, and you would get the coil, the signal for the coils and for the injectors. And you also have to fool it with the Arduino to give it a signal from the camshaft and crankshaft. So it used to be possible. There's even a very nice device you can purchase on eBay, about $300, no, $500. I was even contemplating on getting that, but it's worth nothing to me right now because I mainly work on a lot newer ECMs. And this one has been around for 2 decades at this point, almost 2 decades. So the ones that were easily testable and also much more repairable, and these are like almost 3-decade-old cars. So there's not a lot of them around, and it's not exactly worth fixing them. But my point is, now when Roberto wants a repair from a shop like mine, then he's gonna approach it basically assuming that I'm trying to scam him, or at least he should, because he got basically scammed. I don't know how he's gonna approach it, and I really wanted to make sure that there was nothing repaired on it before making this statement, because obviously I don't want to accuse someone of scamming until I'm absolutely sure. And after many hours of inspecting this ECM, I am absolutely sure that no resistor has been resoldered on this device. I also went resistor by resistor on the entire board, checking them, because there's not that many of them. That only took like an hour, not even, maybe a little less than an hour. There's not a lot of them over here. So that was, I like tedious jobs. I'm weird like that. So that actually, wasn't a big deal for me to check them all. But just for the sake of argument, I decided to check every single component on this board, and that's how I found faulty capacitors. And isn't this like the first thing you do on any device? Because the capacitor always will be the first pick. And maybe because I like working on the power supplies, and I did a lot of power supply repairs, that I always go for capacitors. I don't even measure them. When faulty PSU makes it to me, the first thing I do, I just remove all the A caps on the output and replace them with new ones. And usually that alone fixes the problem, because what else is going to break? If anything else breaks, it's going to be a transistor. It's going to be shorted. Sometimes it's not going to be shorted. Sometimes it's going to turn into a resistor. Sometimes it turns even to a diode. But you can easily find it. So that's why I like fixing PSUs, because they're much easier. ECMs are a lot more challenging. But it kills me, guys. It absolutely kills me that this is the state of our, you know, people fight for right to repair, right? I certainly do. Well, not maybe not actively, but you know, I mention it here and there that I would like to be able to repair my own stuff and not deal with the devices that have components that I can't order anywhere, and I'm not allowed to order, or they're not allowed to sell me any components, even though you know it's my device. I want to fix it myself. There's not a lot of repair options for ECMs, and these are pretty expensive devices. So obviously that's going to attract a lot of people with poor or low morals. And this is what we're dealing with here. And remember, one apple can spoil the entire bunch. And in this case, you know, if you do this, if you do nothing to the ECM and send it back to your client and charge money, you're ruining this business for me, right? You're hurting my business, because now I'm gonna have to deal with the aftermath of that. And your business maybe is not gonna exist in, you know, in a year, or maybe even in a few months, because you know you'll burn too many bridges with, you know, no one's gonna want to recommend you because you couldn't fix something. And there's not, you know, there isn't really anything wrong with saying I can't fix it, I can't figure it out, I don't know how to fix it, I don't know what's wrong with it. Perhaps, well, this is what I can do, I can recap it for you if you want, right? It's going to cost this much. Or you know, I resoldered something and I did something, but I don't know if it works, I don't know if it's going to help. So here it is, you owe me $5 for this solder and $10 for a capacitor, something like that. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If you can fix something, that's fine. That's, you know, it's not exactly that. There's not exactly a school that we can go to learn how to do it. We just do it, and we find certain faults that are common on certain ECMs, and we fix them. Sometimes, you know, you just get lucky and you find something like cracked solder or burnt resistor, or maybe corrosion, liquid damage, something like that, and you fix that. But in general, you know, none of us, the independent repair shops, none of us are experts in this, right? Some things we can do, some things we cannot. Nothing wrong with that, but be transparent about it. Don't charge your client for something you didn't do, or charge the client despite not being able to help them. You know, you're not gonna stay in business for long, and you know that's what worries me the most over here. Before leaving any reviews, so that is just awful, right? Either I know a lot of companies do that. Like recently, I was buying something, and the guy said like, "Oh, if you give us the 5-star review on Google, then you get like this extra thing, you know, for free, or 2 of these." And well, I did it because actually I was happy with customer service and stuff, and I was happy with the product I purchased. So I did leave them 5-star review, and that was an honest review. But you're not supposed to be doing that. You shouldn't be doing that, because that is dishonest. And in this case, it really boils my blood when I read this, when I received this from Roberto. Guys, my blood just boiled, and I spent some time prepping for this video because I don't want to use any uncensored words on this channel. I want this channel to be family friendly, and I don't want to deal with drama. I don't want to cause drama. But this was very hard for me, you know, to be calm about this, because this is absolutely despicable. And you know who you are. You wrote this, and you know you're full of it. So either, my advice would be just come clean, return the money to Roberto, so he can pay me for the actual service, because I'm not charging him anything for this, because he already gets scammed. And I have to order actual capacitors, because I don't have all of them in stock. So I had to spend $30 or $40 on the batch of capacitors so I can perform this repair. And again, not a dime. Not a dime is going to be leaving Roberto's wallet, because I want to save the situation here. I want to make a statement that there are legitimate repair shops. And doesn't mean that I know more about electronics than other repair shops. Doesn't mean that I'm better at doing it than other repair shops. I'm probably one of the least competent repair shops out there. But transparency, right? There are things that I can repair. There are things that I cannot repair. There are things that I know how to repair. There are things, actually some nuances that I know from my experience, from my years of experience. And there are some areas where I'm like completely like kid in the fog. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm still doing it. I'm learning, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But no, first of all, don't learn on your clients. Second of all, don't charge your clients for learning, or if you're not sure if you made a repair, or be upfront from the start what you can, what you cannot do, right? And this is what I want people to, well, this is what people appreciate, this is what I appreciate. That's why people don't like car mechanics, because 5 out of 10 are gonna just plain steal from you. And the other 5, from the other 5, half of them are gonna do half decent job, and the other half not so much. That's the reality of this business, and that's why this business attracts people of low morals, because the client's not gonna see what you're doing there, right? And you rely on the client not understanding it, so you just throw in, yes, CPU resistor, check the charging voltage. Like, dude, who are you talking to? You're just pulling that stuff out of your rear, and and you're charging money for it. That's absolutely despicable. Oh my God, I'm getting angry again. Okay. You know what? My hands are too shaky from all this. I'm not gonna do the repair right now. This is gonna be part 1 to this repair, and it's just gonna be me rambling, because I really shouldn't be doing this right now with shaky hands, and I had 3 coffees, so this repair is not gonna happen today. But it looks like we have a okay. Now I know how much they charge them. I don't know. Are you guys interested? Because he just wrote me. They charged him $200 for doing nothing. I charge less for IC 608 resoldering. I charge less for recapping. I charge less for actually doing stuff. And they charge $200 for doing absolutely nothing. Roberto, you got scammed. They just plainly scammed you. They just rely on people not knowing any better. And I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying everybody should do it the way I do it and just show everything to the client, because it is a lot of, if you're actually, if this is your primary job, your source of income, primary source of income, then you have to maximize the time. There's a difference between doing something and recording it. So I understand, normally without recording this job, the IC608 resoldering would probably be 35-minute job. Instead, it's like an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, depending. Because not only I have to record everything, then I have to copy everything, throw it in the editing software, edit it, export it, upload it, description, all that stuff, create a thumbnail. There's a lot of work. There's like a lot of extra work. So I understand this is not too viable doing that, for every repair. I understand that, and I'm not saying everybody should do it this way and be as transparent as I'm trying to be. But at least, when you're saying you resoldered a transistor or resistor, which one? What is it responsible for? What could have caused it? These are like typical questions that I want to know when I give you something for repair. I don't do all the repairs on my car. I can't do the head gasket replacement, right? There's no way, especially on H6 engine, where you actually have to take the engine out of the car to do this repair. I'm not going to replace the timing chain or timing belt. There's like tons of repairs I'm just not capable of performing, and I have to rely on the mechanics to do it for me, right? But then, I want to know there was a chip on the pulley, on the, or the timing belt was misaligned, or, stuff like that I don't want to receive just a piece of paper saying there was a hardware fault on your car. You owe me $600. Am I being reasonable? And the reason it aggravates me so much is because this impacts my business. Now, people are not gonna be trusting to the repair guys. That it's gonna hurt your business the same way. It just hurts all of us. Don't scam people. Don't scam people. Just do your best and charge accordingly. Because I already talked about it when it comes to like legitimately stealing from people. You may have seen my video on the despicable business practices in 2023. This should probably be titled as despicable business practices of other repair shops. Not putting any names here, but it just hurts all of us. It hurts clients, it hurts the other repair shops. And all right, at this point I'm just rambling. Roberto, I should receive the capacitors, the rest of the capacitors tomorrow. Tomorrow? No, the day after tomorrow, Tuesday. So I should have it repaired and on its way to you by Wednesday. Oh, Thursday is Thanksgiving. I'll keep you posted. I'll keep you posted, brother. I'm sorry this happened to you. I hope this repair is gonna actually resolve your problem and restore your faith in repair shops. There are legitimate repair shops, I promise. Thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you don't get scammed like Roberto did, and keep it up. Keep up the good, honest work, good, honest labor. I'll see you guys in the next one.